Welcome to turning a moment into a movement. Greetings. Hey, Revertia.
Well, hello there. How are you?
Hi, Allie.
Hey.
Welcome, Trisha.
Hey, girl,
How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
So we'll start with Revertia. Introduce yourself, and then Allie is at next, and then Trisha.
Well, I'm the narrative transformer at the Choice Zone, and with turning a moment into a movement and sitting on boards trying to be the activist that is calling for us today. Definitely a part of Survivors Speak, MCHR, and I'm not forgetting G100, Oneness and Wisdom. All that doesn't matter. What matters is what are we doing today? And I'm so glad to be walking with some powerful women, knowing that we have a great work ahead of us, and I see us being extremely successful with it.
Yeah, hey. Go ahead, Allie.
And I'm Alexandria, community activist, organizer, woman of many hats, but I do community work. It's my biggest thing. Newly board member of Detroit Justice Center. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Student.
Oh, wow. Great seeing you. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a complete honor.
Yeah. Trisha.
You know, what a great evening. I feel so blessed to be amongst some powerful, strong, beautiful Black women. Excited to, yes, I'm excited to be amongst our guests tonight. And I guess I'm Trisha Duckworth from Survivor Speak. You know, I love to say I'm a social justice architect because I'm trying to build alongside others what we want to see as opposed to what other people think it should be. And I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody, and that somebody is you. Get busy. You know, I know a lot of times we do this, but faith without works is dead. So we're asking everybody to jump on board and share this tonight. Share this tonight. Share it all over the place. It's about accountability and truth, and it's going down tonight. So tune in.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And thank you for everyone that's joining in on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and for those who may watch later or listen, because we're on podcast platforms as well. So, yeah, our mission is to bring awareness to all that are impacted from being wrongly convicted, overly sentenced, mentally ill, and medically frail in our community. To inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the needs to disrupt systems, policies, patterns, of the criminal legal system that leads to wrongful convictions. That's why we're here every Friday. And we just had a busy week, you guys. We was like on one side of the town to the other side, from the west side to the east side. But yeah, but it's all is well and everything is good. So I am excited about our guests. We just gonna hit the ground running.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
really excited about our guests. Lamarr Monson and Mark Craighead from Freedon Ain't Free. We about to bring them on in here. Greetings.
Hey,
Hi, welcome, Mark and Lamarr. How are you guys?
good. And you?
Hey, everybody.
Oh, we're great. I'm great anyway. How are you guys?
Good.
Bless
Busy
Black
week.
Holiday.
Busy
Good.
week.
I'm real good.
So we all have seen each other probably a few times this week.
Sure
We
did.
done had a busy week this week. We started off Monday at U of M. Trisha, you could go in on that one.
Yeah, Monday was everything. We had an amazing, powerful time at U of M, uplifting the atrocities of wrongful conviction and just educating the students. And man, I watched the crowd for impact, and just to see the faces and to hear the stories afterwards. I can't wait to get the surveys back so we can really see what people really think and get up to put. It was a beautiful evening, and thank you all so much. Just for continuing to show up over and over again, because it's not, especially for our exonerees, I know it's not something you want to relive. I remember reading some of the questions, and I'm like, I don't want to ask them this question. But I just thank you all for your grace and your compassion and just sharing, because it was a beautiful evening.
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
So, Mark, introduce yourself and tell us who you are, and then we'll go to Lamarr.
I'm Mark Craighead, co-founder of Freedom Ain't Free. 7.5 years incarcerated, and finally out to make an impact in the world.
Yeah, thank you. And then Lamarr.
Yes, I'm Lamarr Monson, co-founder of Freedom Ain't Free. Also the president of Moving Detroit Forward. I did 21 years and 3 months, and I'm glad to be out and be able to affect positive change towards helping some others get out and get home to their family.
Thank you. Thank you. So this week, you guys been doing it for a minute, having these protests. You can tell us about Mark or Lamarr, just jump in. tell us about the protests you've been doing and why you've been doing them, and then we'll talk about what happened this week.
This protest was basically on. We had requested to meet with Kim Worthy on the last protest. She did email us back and told us she would love to meet with us. And then a couple of weeks went by. She emailed us. I emailed her. She emailed me back and said she's out of state. She'll get back with us once she gets back in to set up an appointment for Lamarr and I and a couple family members of the victims in the news article. And she never got back with us. So we decided to protest again, not only on the behalf of the Kim Worthy issue and the investigator that we had, but we had groups and they had an outcry also of injustice that they wanted to express themselves also. And we also wanted to bring up the purge files. That's an issue that's going to be very dear to a lot of people so far because no one is addressing the issue of the files that's been destroyed and the lives that's has been affected by those files that's been destroyed. You got the attorney general saying that she's not going to investigate that. Was a travesty of injustice mainly because she was in that office when them files was destroyed. Secondly, it affects a lot of people, and they're not ready to be held accountable for the atrocity that they just did.
Yeah. So for those who are not familiar, can you give us a little background about the files that you're talking about?
Those was the prosecutor's files, I guess, from 1995 on back that was ordered to be destroyed in the prosecutor's office. It was finger pointing at the beginning of it because Duggan was pointing at Kim Worthy. Kim Worthy was pointing at Duggan. And finally, somebody confessed that it was when it was the Duggan administration when the files was purged. But we can't find the exact person who destroyed the files. So there was a complaint that went in that asked them to investigate the files. And I put the complaint in, and then the Nestle refused to investigate the files.
Wow.
Yeah. And
So,
the prosecutor files are files the prosecutor holds in every case to tell them their side, what they investigated, what they came up with, and everything else. So a lot of people in prison can use their files to their advantage. You know, they'll get the prosecutor's side, get some evidence and anything else they need to get back into court. So you just stop a way of a person getting back into court.
insane. So these are vital files that have been purged that supposed to be there for pretty much for life, right?
If you got a guy that's doing life, is supposed to be in there for life, or at the very least 50 years by law.
Wow. Allie, go ahead.
And I'm just taking it all in. If the files were supposed to be there by law and the attorney general is agreeing to not investigate it, I'm just wondering what the proper next steps should be, because what she's doing is breaking the law by not investigating it. So there should be someone else to hold her accountable to that.
Yeah, it should be Department of Justice.
Yeah, actually.
Go ahead, Lamarr.
Yeah, actually, she was also under Duggan's administration when those files were ordered to be destroyed. So she might be the very person responsible for destroying them. So she's not going to investigate herself. And we understand that. That's why we are requesting independent investigation, because we know that some of these relationships between the prosecutor and the attorney general's office are kind of protecting each other, and you can never get to the truth unless you have an outside independent investigation.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that bother me about this whole issue is the guy with the Metro Times brought that out. Steve brought out a lot of things that nobody else would touch. You know, he brought that out. Not one other paper jumped on that. Not one news, Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, no one else jumped on that to even mention the purging of the files. No one, you know. So that right there shows you that that's an area that nobody want to touch.
Go ahead, Reverend Tia.
Yeah, it's something because they don't want to touch it. They don't want to say anything about it. It's wrong. It's clearly wrong. And we keep saying, keep going around acting as if that's okay. But more importantly is who made the order? So we still don't know who called the order. The order, if it was ordered to be destroyed, somebody had to say who, give the order.
Yeah, see, they saying
And
that
who's responsible for ordering the files to be destroyed? This to me does not seem like it should be take a rocket scientist to get to the root of this. Like, who caused the orders for that?
We believe it was an email sent by Duggan to destroy those files. So apparently that's the only indication that we have was the email that was sent, and it was sent by his office. So.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that someone second or third or fourth in charge would make that order. It's very hard to believe that, and he didn't know about it. So, and it's very hard to understand and believe as of being a family member. If I was a family member of one of them guys who needed those files, as I talked to two guys today who needed those files, how do I get a understanding on why nobody's investigating something that's going to affect my son, my daughter, or whoever it is, and my family? I'm just not understanding. Then to understand that why we're not having the light shined on that particular situation is another travesty of injustice. We can go around and they can put anything they want on the channel 724 news, but that's something that affects lives. So I don't see why that haven't hit headline news yet.
Yeah. There's in the chat, Fresh Boy says, my brother, James Jones, is wrongly convicted with all types of newly discovered affidavits, including one from the prosecutor's witness saying he was coerced and threatened by the Detroit homicide detective. And we got his homicide miscellaneous file with Brady evidence. What would we... Go ahead, Lamarr.
Well, I don't know what he's pursuing at this point. If he got all of those things already gathered, it seems like he's ready to, to get back into the court or do a 6500 motion to try to get a case overturned. So I don't know if he's as an attorney or not, but that's a part of our organization. What we're trying to do is to, even with the protest serves multiple purposes. It also brings awareness to the issue from a public standpoint, to a power standpoint, and it also allows us to get notoriety and open some doors to a few firms that might be willing to help assist what we got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And to piggyback off what Lamarr is talking about, we are in the market of trying to get some of these people that are falsely accused of crimes out. Lamarr and I have been not interviewing, but going to law firm to try to get some pro bono attorneys, and are pretty successful in getting a couple attorneys and big firms that want to join in with us. So you should be hearing something from us in the next 15 to 30 days about bringing the first case into the courtroom and everything else. We want to play on a level field, and it's not being leveled, and it's not. On their side, it's not level. On our side, we only can deal with what we got at this point in time. We went to a couple of law firms and have every law firm that Lamarr and I walked into, we haven't got turned down. And we're asking for pro bono attorneys.
Yeah. So is there how many people are you hearing from that have had their records purged and lost? Do you know about how many people are suffering with that? Because I don't know if this is a trend in Wayne County or not, but it appears to be a trend throughout many of the offices as far as record keeping is concerned, and even getting death certificates and things like that. This is a double question. Like, is it just a matter of them not being organized, or are all of these files? Because I'm hearing quite a few people that have had that experience. Do you know about how many? And is it more than just
a handful?
disorganization?
Yeah, I just got off the phone with one of the guys that we're trying to. We're actually going to present his case pretty soon, and the facility that he's in, he said there's over 40 people that files is purged that he can touch right now. And he said it's plenty more, but they don't know how to file a complaint, who to file a complaint to, and anything else like that. So. Yeah, it's a large amount. It's not a handful. It's a lot more. Anytime you go from 1995 on back, that's a large amount that you affected.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I put your website link in the chat. Freedon Ain't free.us. So if people want to connect with you and find out what you do, Lamarr, can you tell us about what it is that you guys are doing and what they can find on the website?
Actually, the website should be updated in about a week or so, but we're going to be all around service. We are a legal agency, and how we have everything kind of set up is we have the private investigators, we have paralegals, and we are, as Mark alluded to, we seeking out attorneys from different firms that can handle these cases. So we can scale volume as long as we continue to expand our lawyers and the other services that we have. So we can help a lot of people if we can kind of expand the volume that way. But on the other side of things, we are strategic. We're not just out here going after things without thinking about it first. We kind of playing chess with what's going on. So we've seen that we alluded to when we first had the first articles, we were going after the investigator that was responsible for, well, she played a part in my case, she played a part in Mark's case, and 4 others that were in the article. And come to find out, there's many other guys that's incarcerated that we hear from every day that also had this investigator. So part of the strategy is to go after the investigator, and then therefore you can open up multiple cases at one time, as opposed to going after each individual case. So that helps us to maximize our potential. And by going after her, we are asking for her to be held accountable for what she's done. She's perjured herself on the stand. She's affected guys' statements negatively with false information. She's coerced individuals. So if we can have them bring her up to a place of accountability where her cases are open, that would lend to make these guys that are affected by her, their tasks a lot more easier as far as them getting notoriety and getting their cases heard.
And you heard Lamarr say cases, and we're right about the 4 cases that we're talking about. And there's no question that she was in all 4 of those cases and many more. We get calls all the time. Lamarr and I get calls all the time of guys that had barber assignment or more. The thing that I don't like about what's just happening with this, Kim Worthy set out a couple press release, and I don't know if you saw what they were saying about the police commissioner and the database that gives you the names and stuff, crooked cops and everything else. Kim Worthy's answers lately has been that they're trying to hire a lawyer so they can take a look at these cases. That is not what Lamarr and I are trying to do. We don't want. I mean, you can't put me in jail then tell me you're going to relook at my case. I want somebody else with fresh eyes to take a look at it and tell me what you see and tell me the imperfections of that case, or tell me, hey, look, this guy's innocent. You know, you can't. Yeah, I can't ask her to take a look at the case, and we raising hell with her. And all she had to do is throw up her hands and say, I took a look at it. I still believe he's guilty, and that's it. I did what you said. That's not what we want. We want to have some fresh eyes on her. And at the very least, if she's going to put her person up there, we need to put one of our people in the office with her person. So so when that finding is found, we know as they know. We just don't want you to come back and just tell us what you found. We want to be in the process of doing the same thing that you're doing. That's the only way we feel that we can have some accountability, is that somebody else outside take a look at that, take a look at what you're doing, if you got to do it, or get an outside source to come in and do it.
Definitely.
I know. Yesterday, I met and spoke with an attorney who has a lawsuit against this investigator, and there is a problem, you know. So I mean, them not wanting to acknowledge it or not is not an issue with the people, because people are acknowledging it and people are seeking justice in regards to this person. Go ahead, Trisha.
I don't know how. It doesn't even make any sense to say that you're going to investigate something. So we talking about the people that have the problem are going to investigate an even bigger problem. I mean, when I read that, when I read that, I was saying to myself, like, are you dumb? I mean, forgive me. Or do you think we're dumb? Maybe that's what it is. You think we're dumb. That's what it is, right? Because clearly you and your office are the problem. So I honor you all in your push for the outside investigator, because it goes back to what we talked about even with these CIUs. As long as they stay as a part of the prosecutor's office, that's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have that.
You're controlled by the prosecutor's office. So, I mean, how do you think we're going to get a fair shake and you controlled by the people who put me in jail?
How are we going to have a fair shake? I keep bringing up Michael Lawson's case, and it's because it's so asinine to me how Carl Bruner can be released because tapes that weren't in the first trial appeared in the second trial, and now we have a not guilty because all of the witnesses said that they circled the block, and the tape proved they didn't circle the block. So why is Michael Lawson still sitting in prison? It makes absolutely no sense. And then for a prosecutor to, and mind you, and I've spoke to CIU, Valerie Newman. I remember at first she said, well, he can't jump the line. I said, ma'am, he's been in line since we put an application in 2021. He's been in line. But why does it have to be in line? Once Mr. Bruner was released, then Mr. Lawson should have been released as well. We're talking about 4 years. It's going on in March of next year will be 5 years that Mr. Lawson is sitting there, where a CIU is telling somebody that they have to get the tapes unlocked from a prosecutor's office. What do you mean you have to pay to unlock the tape from the prosecutor's office? If the prosecutor has access to the tapes, then why aren't they just releasing the tapes? Claudia Whitman had to pay to get the tape released or unlocked from the prosecutor's office so the CIU could see it. And he's still sitting there to this day. So that's what I'm saying. It's a game. And so for us to ever think that we're going to have justice in this office, I don't understand how. I don't.
Let me give you what really was disturbing about our protest the other day, and I think I talked to both of you ladies, or I texted both of you ladies. I don't know if I told you what was said. Well, one of the news guys that was there, actually Steve, who wrote the articles for me and Lamar, and he wrote a series of articles. He featured me and Lamar, and two of them, then wrote 10 more after that. And the 10 he went, he talked to the prosecutor, he talked to police commissioners, he talked to the families of the victims. The same night, and said he's got a response from Worthy's office, and they said they're going to meet with you guys, Mark, but they just don't see the urgency of the meeting. Help me understand that now. You got people that was marching with us that had one. Damian Smith he's locked up 26 years. How can you tell his family she don't see the urgency of the meeting? What's the urgency? Well, the urgency is that my son's been locked up 26 years.
Shouldn't
So,
be.
and I spoke to all the family members of everybody that we have in the article, and they are livid. They're saying, "What do you mean she don't see that?" Well, none of her people's locked up. That's why. But to have the nerve to say something like that.
Yeah.
That's inhumane.
Yeah, but that's telling, and their mindset, their approach to things when it comes to them being the ones who are in error. They ain't quick to fix their own errors, and so I even had to fight. I had evidence in my case, fingerprint evidence we actually had Michigan University. Once they took my case, they had to sue in order to get the results of those fingerprints. So they gonna fight you tooth and nail, just because you have a conviction on you. They gonna fight to make sure that you stay in there, and you have to overwhelm them with evidence to show that you innocent. And that's just how it is.
And Lamar, this is really good because I don't think people understand at what length you have to go to just to become free. I don't think that they understand the pushback that you have just because they want to seem like they're right and that they won the case and they want that case to stand. And I think what you just said is very important because people need to understand that just telling the truth alone
I don't know.
is not going to keep you innocent.
No, actually, it don't even work to tell the truth. I mean, because in some way they bend that truth around and everything else and make it look like it's terrible. We had in my case, I had phone records to show I was at work. They fought like hell to keep them records out because they knew it would exonerate me. But we had a judge with a clear mind and said, no, those records count, and we're gonna use those records. I might, as Lamar said, they fight like hell. They fought me to the Supreme Court. You know, won hands down, but they still didn't give up. They still, after saying, okay, you're free and everything else, but we still think you're guilty.
It's crazy.
We can't fight you no more because we don't have the records, but we still think you're guilty.
Mhm. Yeah,
Big problem.
definitely. So if you innocent in prison, your plight is really a hard one. And I commend them guys to get in them law libraries and work on their own case to try to make it, something happen for themselves. Because you got to put some self effort in it so that you can, when you do run into somebody that can help you, you already on the road. So it's just a matter of, for me, like I said, I'm a spiritual type of person, so I put my faith in God and Him opening them doors and making those connections and those networking those abilities. So you have that expectation, like as Duckworth alluded to earlier, faith without works. You got to put the work in. You got to believe that you're going. I always believed that I was coming home. I mean, every appeal, I felt like I was going in, and I put in 9 of them. And but yet and still, it's when you're in a situation like that and you're trying to get back to your family, it shouldn't be nothing that to stop you. Stop that ambition. And you just got to keep pushing forward. Keep God in your forefront and work on the things that's at your disposal. You know, work on your case, work on what you can find. I wrote so many letters. I had a file this thick with letters that I wrote to different firms and different people that I thought that might be able to help me and assist me. You know, but today I look back on those things and I can say that every letter was worth it, even though I didn't get the response. I didn't stop pursuing my release.
You know, and that's partially what the name Freedom Ain't Free is for, because you know, in society we hope that, you know, when the other side sees there's some wrongdoing, that it should be automatic that they step up and say, oh yeah, well, we were wrong, and let's let this guy out, or let's help him get himself out. It's not so. I mean, what me and Lamarr is running into right now with a lot of these other guys, some of these guys who want us to take their case just think that all they need is an affidavit and they're out. Now, you got to go to war with these people. These people are not, she's not just going to let you out with no one affidavit or whatever. You got to make sure that the court, not her, the court see you nail them in a box, nail the prosecutor in a box. Other than that, you're not coming home. You're not, because it's a fight, and it's a fight that they don't want you to win, and they're gonna do everything they can not to let you out that door, because at one sense of the word, you're a prisoner. Then when you get on the other side of the door, now you want some money from them, so they're looking at you as you're a liability now, because you're gonna sue the state and you're gonna get some money from them. So now they're looking at you that you know you're gonna cost me. So this is the real reason why they don't want to let a lot of these guys out, because a lot of these guys out,
Absolutely.
as y'all know, some of these people that they let out, and they had a worked out a deal with these guys, they turned around and ended up suing them. So now, now they don't want to let nobody out, because now you're costing the state money. You know, you're not Mark Craighead or Lamarr Monson, and your family, you deserve justice because your family and you have suffered so long. You are a liability to the state of Michigan, because you want some money from us for having you incarcerated for so long.
Wrongful.
As somebody said it at your seminar, we were kidnapped and held for ransom. That's just the way that felt when you go to prison. You're kidnapped. And truthfully so, they came and got me off the porch. I didn't go back into my house that 10 years later. I was kidnapped.
You guys talk about people suing. I have a video that I want to play in regards to that.
Chicago police ordered to pay $50 million to a man who says he was framed in a murder case.
Yeah, he'd already been declared innocent years ago. Nate Rogers spoke to him tonight. Nate.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. And down, Marcel Brown was sentenced to 35 years in prison for a murder he did not commit. He actually served 10 of those years before he was exonerated. His attorneys tell us that he was inside an interrogation room for more than 30 hours. He was banned from receiving legal counsel. He was given little food, and they say his phone call requests to family were denied.
This jury saw what happened in that interrogation room as mental coercion, psychological coercion. His constitutional rights were violated.
In August of 2008, Paris Jackson died after being shot multiple times here at Amundsen Park. Marcel Brown, 18 at the time, was arrested and charged as the getaway driver.
He goes over to the park to pick up his sister. People start shooting. They accused Marcel of being an accomplice, of having been involved in the shooting. He had nothing to do with it.
Brown's lawsuit against the city, CPD, and an assistant state's attorney claims he was coerced into confessing because prosecutors wanted to quickly close the case with, quote, minimum effort. His interrogation all on video.
I was just a kid. I felt like a slave. They put me in a lane. Dan full of lions.
Brown left the Dirksen Federal Building today after a jury awarded him $50 million in punitive damages. Joined by family, Brown says his mother was his rock through the process.
She had more faith than me sometimes, so When I ever felt down, I talked to God. When I couldn't talk to him, I looked to her.
Attorneys say it's one of the first wrongful conviction cases to go to trial after state law changed where murder interrogations have to be videotaped.
This $50 million verdict ought to be a wake-up call and a message to Mayor Johnson and Superintendent Snelling that it is time to get a grip on the way the Chicago Police Department is conducting its interrogations.
Now, Brown has been out of jail for 6 years now. He works for Ceasefire, which is a violence prevention program. He says with his settlement money, he plans to take care of his family. There's the latest downtown outside of the Dixon Federal Courthouse. Nate Rogers, Fox 32 Chicago.
Wow. 50 million.
Yeah, taxpayer money.
Taxpayer.
Right.
There you go.
Taxpayer money.
Yeah, that qualified immunity, man. That's something.
50 million
Worst
can't get
thing
that
ever.
guy. He lost a lot in that. He lost a lot in them years, you know.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back and start raising my kids for when they first got me, when they were 2 and everything else. So many things I'll do different because they were raised by their mom, who did a great job. But you know, a woman can't raise a boy to be a man sometimes, you know. So I wish I could go back. So the money ain't going. The money is just something that'll help the family out. It's not the answer. We lost a lot of time in between. It's especially Lamar. He's got 21 years. You know, a lot of things happen in his life.
And they think the money is the cure-all, but it's not. The accountability. How about stopping those things, those mindsets, those procedures, all of that allow you to arrest an innocent person for something that they didn't do? Because now the whole community who is innocent has to pay that $50 million.
Right. And you fighting for that. Just like when you're fighting to get out of jail, you fighting for that $50 million too. It's not like, oh, okay, we did you wrong, here's your money. You
Right.
fighting all the way to the bank. You know, as they say.
Yeah. And in a lot of respects to the dynamic of you getting out and suing the city or suing the state, the thing that you're creating where they don't want to help get you released, even though they know you're innocent, because you may sue, it creates a situation of creating political prisoners, because they understand that they are innocent, but they don't have the will to have them released due to the fact that they might have to pay. And so that puts them in another situation where political prisoners are something that you don't hear about often, but this is a situation that this can be elevated to political prisoner status, because that's what they're doing.
Right.
You got
Go ahead, Allie. We had some questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and since her going public saying we, end quote, we not investigating that at this time, but nothing else. Have you guys reached out to her, and has she followed up, or what has that been like?
Well, first of all, what happened was she when she did the article and said that she wasn't going to investigate, I guess the news guy hit her, got back with her and asked her why wasn't they going to investigate, and that's the same thing they did with us and Barbara Simon. We asked, because I get it all the time, why is this lady still walking the streets and everything else like that? And if we say yeah, they say why. And when that question was asked to the police commissioners at the police commissioner meeting, they said the reason why she's still walking the street is because nobody put a complaint in on her. So exactly the next day, the exact next day, you know what I did, right? I put a complaint on her. So the same thing happened with Dana Nessel. They said, that when he reached out to the Attorney General and said, how come y'all not investigating the case? They said, because nobody put a complaint in. So you know what I did, right? The very next day, I put a complaint in. And we start getting people who are in prison to start exercising their right and put a complaint in because it's their files and that's what they got to fight with. But you got a lot of people in prison that don't know how to do that or don't have any family members that they can reach out to put a complaint in. So there was help doing that. So that was the reason why they ducked and dodged for so long, because they said it wasn't complaining. Now, once he hit them back, I'm talking about the newspaper, Metro Times, said, okay, now it's a complaint in. What's next? They had enough nerve to say, well, we got at least 2,200, 2,500 complaints in. We'll get to it when we can.
Oh, my God.
It's a spin game. Always a spin.
Giving people to run around about their life.
Right.
Yeah.
And they wonder why we protest.
Right. Attorney Mack, hello.
Hello, how are you? Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. Yes. I've got several comments about that video that you just showed there. You know, one is they're pursuing a state remedy, okay, with the coercive interrogations. That's a state remedy. That is not a federal remedy, okay? So the problem is far too many states don't even have that kind of a remedy, okay?
Right.
Michigan with, some people think if you're wrongfully convicted and that conviction is overturned, you spend time in the penitentiary, you automatically entitled to some money. That's not true. That's not true. They make it infinitely harder for anybody to try to collect money that has been incarcerated, okay? And so they've got all kinds of little loopholes and nuances, and these review boards that make these decisions are very prone to uphold the system, okay? So even though a person may be technically free, it doesn't mean that the system is going to fully, quote unquote, vindicate them. Everything is further from the truth than that. So that is an uphill battle. So I'm glad to hear in Illinois they've got a state remedy for that. And then you see another point is that brother talks about that $50 million, what he is going to spend that on. He hasn't got a penny of that money yet. And so when the crucial thing to take away from that whole video is that was a verdict. That wasn't a settlement. There's a big difference. Okay. And so with $50 million on the line, you can best believe the state of Illinois has got a battery of attorneys to appeal that. Okay, to appeal. See, what a lot of people don't understand is they think that, for example, in the state of Michigan, they think that, well, let's say there's a medical malpractice and they get, let's say, $2.3 million. Okay. The law is very, very lenient when it comes to doctors, okay, and supporting doctors. And those verdict, that $50 million verdict, that can be overturned by the judge. It doesn't even have to go to appeal. Okay, that can be overturned by the judge. So let's say the judge says, well, no, I'm gonna let that verdict stand. Well, then that's all the way up through the system to the Illinois, Supreme Court. So a lot of times what happens is they will try to negotiate something for a lot lesser amount, okay, a lot lesser amount. So I certainly hope that verdict, whatever time it takes to fulfill it, can be fulfilled for him to bring that brother some modicum of justice. Now, the other thing is this: you have to remember federal law trumps state law, okay? So under the new administration's coming in, he's made it real clear. He is going to push for police, well, first of all, federal police and the Army, in terms of immunity, in terms of interacting with citizens. And so he's also making it very clear that in like sanctuary cities where, they say, well, look, we're not going to be aiding and abetting and people being deported and, being arrested. They're saying they're coming in anyway. And if you don't get out of our way, we will push you out of our way with an Abrams tank. So that's very relatable to this situation, because What I'm saying is it shows the culture that is about to engulf us. Okay, that culture which is about to engulf us. And while they're talking about these illegals, these people from Nicaragua or whatever, you better believe they looking at a close eye to eliminating all consent orders. Okay, where the federal government, for example, with Chicago Police Department, and by the way, Chicago Police Department has been notorious for the most unjust police department outside of the South. Okay. Mm-hmm. So pulling back those consent orders where you're really saying the federal government, Justice Department, we're not gonna be looking at y'all no more. So if y'all want to go ahead and crack heads when Donald Trump says, look, we're eliminating any restrictions on stop and frisk, go ahead. So those are some of the dynamics that, you know, we've got to look at and try to prepare ourselves the best we can to combat that. Okay. So, you know, my hats and my spirits off to the brothers right here. I understand unjust conviction myself. I understand quite well. So that's why the fight has got to keep going, and we got to encourage each other, y'all, because really the truth is we are all that we have. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Attorney May, just this week, the state of Illinois announced that they are incorporating the integrity unit. And I guess so, after so many wrongful convictions and exonerations.
Good.
Illinois.
Good. You know, that is a feasible thing for smart taxpayers to realize, okay? You know, it is better to hold these individual police officers accountable and make them personally accountable with their pensions, you know, with their raises, their benefits, you know, everything, their houses, everything they have. And I guarantee you, if we could ever get something like that. Oh, by the way, of course, you know, the Democrats lost the House of Representatives in Michigan. Y'all do know that, right? Okay. Y'all do know that. The Republicans took part in that. So the opportunity we had with the Senate, the State House, and the governor still couldn't get qualified immunity passed. Still couldn't. So, you know, there we go, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Bishop.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
I'm blessed.
That's good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I want to hit on, because I don't know when we're going to, just like, for instance, Monday's event at U of M, those students were really invested in the conversation. It really impacted them. And I just want you guys to know, or the people who are listening, that a wrongful conviction can happen to anybody.
That's right.
It happened to Lamarr, it happened to Mark, it happened to Attorney Mack, it happened to Gerard. Nobody is exempt. So I had this video I wanted to play right quick of one of the exonerated 5 speaking on why people confess to crimes they didn't do.
You know, we used to get that question a lot. How do people confess to something they didn't do? And we say, you have to understand the dynamics first, right? Here we were, 14 and 15-year-old kids, never been in trouble with the law, never had no dealings with the police. This was seasoned veteran detectives, Homicide North Detective Squad, the elite of the police force, 20 plus years. That playing field is unleveled going in. And then the second dynamic is also pressure. People don't understand that when you put in situations, the amounts of pressure can have you, lose train of thought, can have you stressed. It can have you, for instance, one good example, everybody who drives in here, if you ever get pulled over by the police, you have 2 reactions. Either you're upset or you're afraid. It's due to experience. Lack of experience, lack of the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen once you go into those rooms, it sets the stage for a false confession to happen. I mean, you have the read technique, right? The read technique, which is 7 steps on how to get somebody to confess. So it's these things that we didn't know about going in as 14 and 15-year-old kids. We didn't know who Miranda was. Right?
So we need to say that part again, because that sometimes
we didn't know who Miranda was.
With
Who's Miranda?
Young people, yeah,
you don't
young
go to my
people,
school.
That's lost on people.
Right? So you walking into these interrogation room and that scene is set. And for me, you know, what you see on Law and Order, CSI, the good cop and the bad cop, is how they got me to lie. Because once that pressure becomes so great on a 14-year-old kid, he's just trying to get from under it.
So Lamarr, I wanted to play that because before we even met you, we did a video, we did a whole session about the Reid technique, and it had to do with you. And one of the mothers, Deidre Grayhouse, her son Robert Grayhouse, she said that they used that same technique on him, and so we were explaining what the Reid technique was, and so when I was researching it, it talked a lot about you. And so for those who don't understand it, could you explain to the listeners and the viewers, what is the Reid technique?
Well, the Reid technique is a technique they use to overpower your will in order to get the result they want. And they do that in a way like the gentleman just kind of illustrated. I know me personally, when I came in the situation, I didn't have a criminal background, so I'm thinking that, you know, all police officers conduct themselves in a certain manner. So when you actually get into a interrogation and you find them turning you from a witness into a suspect, and they begin to start saying, "No, you did this. You responsible for this. You the one that we looking for." And you like, wait a minute. You know, what you thinking about your rights? You thinking about, you know, your family? Thinking your life flashing before your eyes because they trying to put a murder on you. You know, and like I said, when you haven't dealt with the police and been in the interactions with the police, to me it was a shock to see them even acting like that. I'm like, they giving me, I'm there to give a statement or to say what I know or what I've seen or what I've heard, but instead of that, they're kind of they use a lot of different influences around you. I know when I was in there, it was like other officers would come into the room and they was like, "Yeah, you did it. You know, you did it. You responsible for that." You know, so it's a psychological aspect to it. The fearful aspect to it because you're restrained. You can't just get up and leave. And then you're being accused of something as heinous as a murder. So it's like the most ultimate thing, all of these things at once, and you sitting there trying to contemplate how you're going to get back home. And one of the things I know in my particular case, I was there overnight. They woke me up I was up the next morning at 5 a.m, and I had a different detective, which was the chief inspector. So she was the one over the entire homicide division. So when I came down to talk to her, she was like, she had a stack of files on her desk, like they had gathered all this evidence against me or something, right? And so I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking in my mind, like, oh, now what is this? I already gave a statement. So what am I talking to her about? So basically the statement wasn't a condemning statement. So what she felt was, and this is how she approached me. It was like good cop, bad cop, like he alluded to, talking about the law programmers or the stories that come on. That when I was in there, she would say, "I believe you innocent. I don't think you did this, and I just want to help you. Mm-hmm. And only way I can help you is if you would you sign another statement, and because they're going to charge you with first-degree murder." And she pick up the phone and act like they pressing her about hurrying up, get him down here so we could charge him. That's the kind of impression you get while you're sitting there. And so you seeing all this stuff take place, and she says to me, well, you could be home by this time tomorrow if you sign a statement. So that's giving me an out. And in your mind, as a person that didn't do nothing wrong, you figuring like, I ain't never been in trouble before. Once I get an attorney, he'll easily be able to show that I had nothing to do with this, and that I'm innocent. So you take the bait, and you take that bait and find that you don't see freedom for 21 years.
Yep. I
You
agree with
know, and I guarantee you this happens all over the country. This is not relegated to Michigan or Chicago, but we find that this is systematic.
Yeah, it's part of their training. From what I was researching, it's a part of their training. And even in the video we saw from the gentleman in Illinois, he was in the room, he's 30 hours with no water, no food, not able to call anybody, anything. And so these techniques, you know, when people say, well, why would somebody say they did something they didn't do? You don't understand how much pressure they are putting people under.
Yeah, pressure bust a pipe. I agree with Lamarr. I'm still in litigation at this point in time, so I can't go into specifics. But the read technique is very, very strong. The guy mentioned it in the article with me and Lamarr. Actually, as Steve mentioned it, he said he's got a call from the people who kind of concocted the read technique, talking about they're going to sue Metro Times because we're talking about the read technique and how the read technique really tramples people's rights. And it is a good cop, bad cop thing. And all I can say about it is that what Lamarr said is totally right, man. I mean, because they play on your emotions, they play on every little weak spot about it, and it's a game to them. It's a game to them, and they've been practicing the game for years. We don't know about it. We just got into the situation, just want to go home. So, but if you do read the read technique, it's used everywhere. I mean, it's used everywhere, and it's banned in some. It's banned in some states. They won't.
Some states have banned it. Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Go ahead, Bishop. Oh,
go ahead.
Did you want to say something, Bishop?
No, but I can.
Go ahead.
When fear sets in, it takes control of everything. It takes when you become fearful, all rationality leaves from your thoughts, from your being,
and they know that.
So
that's what.
And to be 14,
yes,
and not talk to your mama, not talk to your dad, not talk to nobody that can give you what to do or how to do it. And you know, I don't care how grown you was and how much you thought you knew, get in a position of fear. It overtakes everything else.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Alex.
that's pretty much why. That's pretty much why they wasn't taping those interrogations, because they were unjustly, and the tactics they used was unlawful and everything else. Even with Eddie Lee Lloyd, when they demanded that you had to, he wanted a lawsuit, and they demanded that you had one of the conditions to his family for the lawsuit was all interrogations will be taped. And they haven't done it yet. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking about when you guys brought up Chicago, when Laquan McDonald was killed. He was a Black teenager. This happened 2016, I believe, 2015. But what had happened after that, there were a lot of community advocacy groups, some faith-based groups. I know the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression was one of them. They put forward an ordinance to create an independent oversight, police oversight and accountability commission, and they asked for permanent funding for it. And that ordinance did go in place, and they do exist. And hearing like what's happening now and just thinking about that, we need an independent commission of accountability. That is the only way to move forward. And I commend them in Chicago for their work, because that was a lot, but it was awesome to hear that they were able to get that as an outcome with permanent funding. So it just has my wheels turning in my brain about how we can get something like that here, because there's a pattern, with Duggan past deleting emails, and there's a pattern established. So we can't just continue to, oh, maybe, no, there's no maybe. So yeah.
It's about sticking together and making that a promise. I mean, a thing that we're gonna do. We got to stick together in all these issues that we're talking about. All the protesters that we're doing. There's too many different groups going after too many different things. Freedom is the thing that we should go after. Justice is the thing we should go after, and it should be transparent and straightforward. We got too many groups doing too many things, and none of them are trying to concentrate on getting some of these innocent people out. Now you got the other side where you got the law enforcement. They're not giving in. They're not going to give in. They're not going to be in Chicago. They're not going to be in New York. These are the two states that's starting to hold their police officers and everybody accountable for their actions right now. They're not gonna do that. You know how many people walk up to me and say nothing's gonna happen to Barbara Simon because Michigan is not like that. I mean, and I'm saying, yeah, it is, because she done me wrong. I mean, she not only done me wrong, she done Mr. Monson wrong, and she done, the other two guys wrong, and they're gonna do something to her. But slowly but surely, you see how that question about what's happening to her, it's not even being talked about no more, because if you stop talking about things like this, if you stop raising hell, then the problem's gone away. That's what she wants. She wants you to stop raising. As soon as we stop raising hell, she's gonna go back to normal and act the way she did. And that's what happened. We stopped protesting. When we stopped protesting, she didn't see the need to get back in touch with us. For what? She thought that we were satisfied because she told us she would meet with us. Our meeting with her is for her to tell these families why she won't reopen these cases and look at them, and why she don't hold whoever's accountable for those actions accountable. That's our reason. As I told them, me and Lamarr don't get nothing out of this, but the satisfaction that we walked somebody out of prison that was innocent. We get nothing out of this. So our actions is for the good of the people. And it's not for the good of, I don't care about the media or nothing else like that. If you ain't bringing somebody out of jail, what is the media doing for me? My only reason is I want to bring to you what's going on in this situation, and the public has the power of bringing her out of that situation. Not me, not Lamarr. The more and more people we got gathered and asking her questions, that's what's going to bring them out of this. It's not us. But if we keep the pressure on, that's going to bring them out of it. Wolf said a couple things. Wolfgang Mueller said two things to get them to act right. He said the media and money. So when you get the media and they find it wrong and you sue their ass, that'll get them to start acting straight. Sad to say that, but that's what happens.
That's true.
Trisha.
Yeah. We were talking about the read technique, and it just put me in the mind of the Veazey case, and you can hear it live in living color in this video. I found this, with the Veazey case, man, I read every transcript, every police interview, for everything, right? Because their mother had access to everything. And I found this recording. And I cut that recording on. And when I tell you, if it wasn't a reading technique live in living color, it was so much pressure onto that young man who was actually one of their family members. That's what makes it so horrible. And the tape is too long to play all the way, but we can add it to the page. And if you want to fast forward towards the end of it, but they just kept coming on tape, then they'll go off tape. Then they'll come on tape, then they'll go off tape. My thing is, if you got a tape going, why not just leave it playing? then I mean, it went from what? No, my cousins wasn't there to what you want me to say they there to yeah, they was there.
Yeah.
It was so horrible. And what makes it even worse is the fact that this police officer went to go see D'Amico 3 years into their sentence after he convicted them or got them convicted and told him, I never believed it was y'all. And I said to myself, that should be enough right there to flip the case. But it is not. But this officer coerced their cousin into saying that they did it.
July 27th, 2004. Time right now is 4:55 p.m. I'm at the Washington County Sheriff's Department in a secretary interview room with Mike Magaha. Mike, for the sake, can you state your name? Michael Magaha. Okay. Mike, this morning somebody went over your rights with you and all that kind of stuff. Okay. We talked for a few minutes before I turned on the tape. Is that right? Okay. Did I make any threats or promises to you when I got the tape off? No. Okay. You were going into what happened that night once again. Like the night in question, I picked my neighbor up. Well, I didn't pick him up. He stayed next door to us. We all stay in a row. I asked Mike, I said, you want to go hang out and shoot some pool? You know? He said, well, yeah, I got nothing else to do than to clear it with my wife. He cleared it with his wife to make sure that, you know, it was okay for him to go. So we go hang out. We have a great time. We get drunk. You know, we're drinking Hennessy all the way. We go to the bar, shoot a couple games of pool. We come home because it's getting late. He wants to get his wife home. When we get home, he realizes that he had to spend his kids. So we go back out. I was in a red minivan. We go back out. We go to Hayes. We come back. I drop him off. And me and Rhonda go to the hotel room in an hour. Right? Way in an hour. What time was that? I was so drunk, man. I couldn't remember. Honestly. I woke up the next morning. I called home to see if my cousin Gerard wanted to eat breakfast with me because he had just got out. Okay? That's when I learned about the homicide. I don't know what.
Hey, your son.
So I was trying to speed it up, but it won't let me, Trisha.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll post it so folks can go and listen to it. But it just really shows how the Reid technique is used to secure a confession, a false confession from somebody. And the sad part about it is, and we found this out while the campaign was going on here in Washington County, Alicia Dyer had uncovered that the sheriff's office still has Reid technique training in their budget. Still has it in their budget. So you know the harm that it causes, but you are still providing funding so that your officers can go and get this training. So for us, it is our hope that when Sheriff-elect Dyer takes office, that she does away with the Reid technique and the funding for it. And as a matter of fact, in our opinion, she should take that Reid technique funding and use some of that to train her officers on wrongful convictions and what that looks like and some other things. But it's horrible to hear how this can be done to people over and over again.
I got it now, Trisha. Hold on, you guys. Because I want to hear it. So just 1 second. We'll go back. Was there anybody else who had a question while I'm putting this on?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm hoping too that because the officers need to deal with a lot of personal issues themselves. When you look at a lot of the what happens with a lot of the officers when they're under pressure and split-second decisions, and they're going to respond how they are habitually patterned to respond. So if they're used to a certain way of responding, that's the way they're going to respond. And a lot of these officers haven't had any type of healing, bias training. I mean, you can easily on a paper take a bias test. I'm talking about where psychologically you are absolutely ready to go out there in the community and in an unbiased way be able to serve. I don't even think they have a measurement for is a person really ready to serve. Because as far as I'm concerned, I believe that officers treat citizens more like terrorists than citizens, and we don't have people who are actually serving to protect right now.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna play it.
You're friendly to people. Your family means a lot to you. Okay, and I know right now that Dennis and Tamika will mean a lot to you because they're family too. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna put it on pause. The time right now is 5:22. Okay, we're back on tape. I think maybe 2 minutes have passed. Mike, did I make instructions off? Do you want to put your papers off? Okay. Mike, I think you're you know what it tells me that you have a good head on your shoulders and a good conscience is because I think you're struggling and you want truth to come out. Because if you didn't want the truth to come out, that would tell me one thing. But you want the truth to come out, but it's hard because you're talking about family members here, man. You're talking about family, and that's difficult. But right now, we need to think about Mike McGaha. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's exactly all I know. Mike, because when I walked up on it, I didn't know. Who was collaborating? Larissa and the two occupants. You want me to say Dennis and D'Amico? If it was Dennis and D'Amico, then but I can't honestly say that because what kind of car were they in? I didn't see him in no car. Where were they in? I seen him standing right in front of Torrance's crib. So you walked up and they were standing right in front of Torrance's crib. What were they? What these guys look like? One was about my weight, a little bit shorter than me. One was taller than me. I couldn't tell because they, how were they collaborating? It just seemed like they was up to something. You don't see two guys and a chick whispering at wee hours in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm from the streets too. And you know Narissa? Yeah, I know Narissa. And you know Dennis and D'Amico? Yes, I do. And you're gonna tell me that you don't know that it's Narissa and Dennis and D'Amico standing out there? No, not like that. I knew Narissa because I saw her face. Come on, Dennis and D'Amico hit hundreds of licks. When? Man, you know when? They don't tell me nothing. Listen, Mike, they don't tell me nothing. Come on, man, detective. Listen, tell me none of this. Is that gonna stand up on that machine? No, it's not. Tell me, I want the truth. Mike, I want the truth. I want to know, are you a cold-blooded killer? No, are you just a victim of the circumstance that you were put in? Circumstance. That's it. I am not a cold-blooded killer. Well, then you got to tell me what the circumstance was that you're a victim of, because I'm going to assume that you're a cold-blooded killer. Okay, but I cannot tell you something if I didn't know. I want to know what you know. Mike. This is what I know. Mike, this is what I'm telling you. And you went up there, and you know who was there, and you know that you were there when they went in the apartment. No, I did not. Mike, I never went in that apartment. I never went and entered in that apartment that night. I have been in that apartment. Been in that apartment before. But Mike, you're stopping short of the truth because you told me you felt that. I want me to tell you that Dennis and D'Amico did it, but I don't know if they did it because I turned around and I didn't want to know. I don't want to know. Honestly, if they did do that, because one, that was a friend of mine. Two, it was bullshit because they got money. And three, it fucked up a lot of want to know. It absolutely has messed up a lot of people. I did not want to know. If they were the ones, I did not want to know that. Okay, aside from whether it was those two guys out there. Right. Okay. Everybody has you going inside the apartment. They're gonna hit a lick without you. And next door to you. Wouldn't you? If you didn't want me to tell on you? Like they know you're not gonna tell on them. Well, why wasn't I involved in the lick then? I'm saying that you probably were involved in the lick. I'm telling you no. Where the money go? I didn't get nothing. Okay.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, the tape that is like a 43-minute segment. And we'll post it, but you want to really go listen to it from the beginning and the end, because you will hear how he went from saying, nah, well, my cousins, to, oh, okay, all right, it was my cousins. I mean, this stuff is real, and this is a part of accountability that we've got to look at. We've got to get with these policing agencies and make them abolish this read technique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Lamarr, your mic is off, Lamarr.
Yeah. Also, the public got to be aware. You know, my father always would tell me, you know what I mean? You don't say nothing. You don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? If you ever stop to mess with the police, you just don't say nothing. But when you, like I say, when you're in that situation and circumstances is there, it's a lot different. But the wise thing for you to do, and sometimes because you haven't interacted with the police and you don't have no record and you're not out there doing things like that, it shocks you that they're trying to even do that to you. And so you kind of like, wow, this is something different. I mean, for real. I mean, in my case, I called the police. I stayed with the victim until they came. And for you to get me in the police station and then say, oh, you the one committed the crime, I'm like, it's so asinine. I just was like, wow, this is something different. For real.
Attorney Matt.
Well, nobody is surprised on this podcast that the system is a gristmill. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The system is, and so, which is why, as I said last time or some podcasts ago, one of the big aspects of my practice is talking to young men, women too, but predominantly young men, and of those predominantly young Black men, of the responsibility they have to realize they're not Johnny or Timmy or little Alexander, okay? You Rufus, Cleotis, Denzel, Othello, okay? That's who you are. And the problem that we have in this country, and the problem we have as Black people, we are the most obliging Americans in the history of the nation. Nobody to the extent of Black people have bent over so far to want to be accepted, to bleaching your skin, putting a clothespin on your nose, okay? Pursing your lips close to your mouth so your lips aren't so big, putting lye on your hair to make it straight, okay? Nobody else has done that but us. And so the problem that we have is that our Black kids think all they have to do for freedom is tell the truth. And that's not the way it is. So my thing is, which is why I keep preaching about us talking to our young men, women too, but predominantly young Black men, let them know there's a target on your back, period, okay? And you cannot ingratiate yourself enough to these people to take that target off. It's impossible. So the thing of it is why, and I encourage other lawyers, none of us going to be here forever, but in whatever time God has, to educate them, not just to the ways of the street, but the way of police culture. Okay. And a lot of times you're gonna have to give up that, hey man, I'm a free man, I'm a citizen, man. I'd go where I want, I see what I want. No, not without paying a bigger price than Timothy and Alexander and Jonathan. You'll pay a hell of a price, So when I hear people talking about, and even from my own experience, about what the system can do, the best thing is to put ourselves in a situation to just walk the other way if we have to, okay? You know, everybody as adults got a right to be out any time of the day or night they want to, okay? But in certain situations, we got to be smart enough just to avoid that, you know? And so we got to be smart enough to, you know, sometimes tell the homeboys, hey man, I'm not rolling like that tonight, y'all. I'm not doing that, okay? So, you know, because everybody that's smiling with you and your homeboy ain't really for you. They're for themselves. And if you get caught up, guess what? I've had many a client tell me they was told by their friends, hey man, I ain't going to jail for nobody. So if that means you got to take the rap, you got to go down, see ya, wouldn't want to be you.
Right. So I just wanted, you know, we're talking about freedom ain't free, and you know, the folk, we need to do whatever to organize, to come together, because these wrongful convictions are happening. And even the month of September, I just saw a video about it. There were 14 exonerations in the United States. So when people are thinking this stuff is not happening because it's not happening to you, it's happening. And so we have to come together, because it's affecting you one way or the other. If it's not personally affecting you, it's financially affecting you, because you're paying for it. You're paying for the misconduct. You're paying for the payouts of the, you know, from the lawsuits. So it's affecting us all. And what's wrong with asking for accountability? Any other profession, we want to make sure that there's accountability. So in this profession, there should be accountability. It's necessary. So I want to kind of move just the
one thing I want to say. One thing that I want to say is that we have to teach, you know, my children, my church members. Whenever you get stopped, call me right then. Don't wait to call. Call me right then. And if we would learn to get them to speak up and so many times they hold back and be quiet about what's on the inside or what's going on till they're afraid to share it with somebody. They always ought to have an open link so they can share. And that's one of the biggest problems. Are they keeping silent? Well, I ain't gonna say nothing because ain't nothing gonna happen. Say something. Let somebody else know about it other than you.
Right.
And when we see something, we should say something too, right? Because the other day, yesterday, I was on the way home from the doctor and I seen the Pittsfield Township, which is very problematic here in Washtenaw County. Pittsfield Township officers, there was 2 officers that had a young black girl pulled over. And I just couldn't understand it. So Spirit told me stop. I stopped and I started recording them. And then when I got ready to leave, I just called them over. I said, hey, I want y'all to know, like, you know, as a black woman, it's very troubling for me to see y'all using these intimidation tactics, basically. You know what I'm saying? Well, do you know why she was pulled over? I'm like, well, no, but what y'all did here, it was about her tags. So why do 2 of y'all need to pull her over because of her tags? There's no need for that. So now I called Matt Harshberger today, and we're going to follow this through as to why they are using those tactics and also why they will walk away from me as I'm talking to them. We can't let this go. And if we see something, we got to say something. We got to protect each other.
Yeah, because silence is consent.
I feel like, you know,
one thing that we need to do as leaders in the community, we ought to know the chief of police. We ought to know the sheriff. Get to know them so that when we see something, let it not stop with the officer, but make them be accountable to the one that's over them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Allie.
I was just thinking because people show up for certain things but not other things, and it feels like there's an inability to see the connection between all of it when really it's from the same place. If you understand white supremacy, then all of this is from the same place. Whether it's what's happening now, wrongful convictions, we can trace back to history and understand why that's white supremacy. Whether it's DEI bills, example, Ottawa County in Michigan dismantled their DEI department. That happened a while ago. But whether it's that or on a federal level, state level, it all comes from the same place. And white supremacy doesn't benefit anyone. It sure isn't benefiting people's pockets. And most people in this country are middle class to low class. So let's look at that. You can't feed your family. It's not just by happenstance. It's because that's how the system is set up.
Right.
So there needs to be some real conversations about just holding us accountable to not being blinded by silliness. Because it's silliness. You choosing not to be woke. You're choosing that. You could be, but you're not.
Right.
And you're hurting everybody by not being woke.
Right. I want to go into the DEI. I saw this video and I want to go into that. They was having this conversation this week in DC. And so I want to play this one.
Having sat and read the text in preparation for today's markup, I have yet another example to tell my constituents about the unserious work of the Republican Party. Now, I'll work with anyone serious about progress who wants to center the people who call this country home. This isn't it. The Committee on Oversight has the broadest jurisdiction in the entire House of Representatives to investigate any topic it chooses, but we are debating legislation that denies the sky is blue, water is wet, and racism is real. The major provision of the bill says to ban anything that acknowledges racism. And a few pages later in the exact same bill, there are multiple provisions discussing the presence of racism. This Republican approach is as predictable as it is nonsensical. On one hand, they're saying that racism does not exist. On the other hand, they are saying there is rampant reverse racism. Well, how do you reverse something that never existed in the first place? Riddle me that. While this Republican policy may have a new name, it's the same old tired game. Look, y'all are entitled to your opinions, but not a denial of the facts. Do you all know your history? Do you know American history? The original Constitution counted enslaved individuals as 3/5 of a person. During World War II, the federal government forcibly relocated and incarcerated 110,000 Japanese Americans. The FHA practiced redlining in the 1930s and 60s to deny mortgages to Black Americans, which is why we have a racial wealth gap today. I could go on. The GI Bill, which is supposed to be race neutral, denied access to Black Americans, denying them equal access to education and housing benefits, which is why we do not have generational wealth. Don't talk to me about merit when those Black servicemen fought for our freedoms. And I'd also just like to take a personal note of privilege to say, please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths. Yes. Your perversion of his words and his mission when his children have asked you to stop invoking his name and perverting his work when he was a proud and unapologetic Black man fighting for equality for Black Americans and all marginalized people. So you all are entitled to your opinions, but not a denial of the facts. But I'm not surprised that you would deny American history. What I am, though, is committed. Committed to speaking truth to power, committed to standing up for marginalized communities and vulnerable people, committed to ensuring that everyone has equal opportunity to buy a house, to work a job, to pursue higher education, and to live in a society that is fair and just. A colleague across the aisle invoked the phrase of, we must do everything to stop government-sponsored oppression. Well, I've just enumerated numerous examples, which is exactly why we have legislation and an executive order to reverse this harm. And that is why I'm committed to opposing this bill and urge my colleagues to do the same.
Whoa, go ahead, Bishop.
I agree. I agree.
Reverend Tia.
I think the tactic that she uses is what we need to be about. And that's what you were talking about, the history. When we don't know the history, so we got to really think about it. How many generations of a gap in historical knowledge are our children missing?
Mm-hmm.
The people today, where originally you were taught at home. And I keep saying this, when people come here from other countries, they're taught at home. They go to our schools, they get information from our schools, but at the end of the day, when they get home, it's about their culture, it's about their precedents, it's about everything that has to do with their home. On the other hand, some of us have gone to the school and we did not take with us our culture. We did not take with us our history. We did not take with us knowledge of who we were. And it stopped being taught in the homes. And unfortunately, some people didn't even want to identify and keep just brushing the dirt up under the rug. Well, now today we tripping. We tripping over the dirt. We're tripping over that hill because we have all of these people who have a lack of knowledge when it comes to who they are and who they're supposed to be, wanting to be somebody else, wanting to identify with somebody else, and wanting to act as if the system is fine. The system's not fine because the people aren't fine. It's not going to be fine. It's not going to be fine because from the leader down, we have corruption. So it's not going to be fine. We're not in a fine place right now. And no one should be comfortable. And no one should, at the same time, we should not be afraid. But now it's time for us to take some action. And a lot of that action is within, and a lot of that action is in your community, and a lot of that action, because the community, the most important aspect of the community is the family unit. And you have to start there and ask ourselves, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing with our families? Do we have an ethical standard? Are we talking to our children? It's sad when I drive through sometimes in the evening coming from different places. I can go through different towns and there are young guys, 20s, young adults on the corners talking outside the pizza place, having a conversation. Guess what, y'all? Police ain't stopping them. The police are not asking them to disperse and to go home and to go to your places and to get off of the corner. No one's bothering them. You know why they keep asking us? They ask African Americans to disperse, go home, get off this corner. Why are you here? Let me see your license. Because they're still used to that. They're still used to in the field when they would start coming together and talking, they were afraid they were getting ready to run. They're getting ready to try to be free. They don't want us to collaborate and come together. But see, when you know that, when you know this, then you know collaboration is what we need to be about right now.
Yeah. Go
And that's
ahead,
what
Alan.
I was just thinking about like if people had that historical context, we would have never had, for example, in 2021, when Kyra Bowden was a state representative, she had to stand up there and argue against a Republican about a bill they were pushing to ban critical race theory, the conversation of race in public schools. Someone who clearly has a grandmother and a great grandmother that has experienced that. The level of gaslighting that is, and to have to endure that as a Black person, that would have never had to happen if people had that concept and of history very presently in their mind and exercised their rights based on that. With that context of your history, you exercising your rights, you're going to do it way more passionately and take this way more serious because you know where the Constitution originates from and how that came about. But without that, you have this, you have that happening, the critical race theory thing. Now we on DEI, and now you in the video, Ayanna Pressley mentioned Japanese internment camps, the various ways racism has occurred in history, and people don't even know this, and they just voting very stupidly off of what they pockets. So, but they don't know that Japanese internment camps, that was an outcome of the American Alien Enemies Act of 1778. So that's immigration. They're tied. Millionth reason why you should know your history. This stuff isn't old.
Right.
But we will repeat it if we don't know our history.
Right. And see how they're talking right now about reverse racism, and they're trying to talk about they're the oppressed ones and all this craziness. And if you don't know who you are, you're gonna believe them. And some people are walking around with, having these conversations like, how can we oppress anybody? But if you don't know, if you're buying into all this stuff, if you're looking at your page, if it's about money for you, history would definitely repeat itself. And we'll be fighting. And we'll be having these same conversations. And 5-10 years later. Go ahead, Rabbitier.
Well, and we got to ask the question too. Why do they say they're oppressed? They say they're oppressed. Why? Why? How can they even let that come out of their mouth? And we have to know what is the basis. They say that they're oppressed because they believe they have missed out on something called slavery. They say that they are oppressed because they have missed out on the Jim Crow areas because they glory in it. And you know why they glory in it? They glory in it because we glory in it. You know why we glory in it? Because we have not changed that history book so that it looks like that United States didn't just come and just peacefully come together with the natives. They do that. They do that because they feel that they missed out, because today they are looking at their economic ability and saying, but we should be ahead of people of color.
Yeah.
You can't tell me today anything else. When you ask the question, why do they feel that they are oppressed? I am not making any more excuses. And that's what needs to stop.
Yeah.
No more excuses.
No right. Attorney Matt.
There's another part of this discussion that I think we need to confront. They say that by 2053, this country will be a majority minority nation. and that people are concerned that they're losing their culture, which means their whiteness. Well,
that's it.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ, because what has happened is that it's not just a matter now of white supremacy. It's a matter of Asian supremacy when it comes to Black people. It's a matter of Latino, Hispanic supremacy when it comes to Black people, okay? 43% of Latinos consider themselves white, okay? Consider themselves white, okay? In terms of the Asian community, you know, some of us on this program have gone to University of Michigan. That's good. That's good. That's nice. That's nice. You know, but back in the day, let me date myself, okay? Back in the early 70s, okay? We had the William Monroe Trotter House, right? Okay. It's still there. It's still there. But the William Monroe Trotter House was actually a center for Black culture and Black activity, Black awareness, okay? Okay. What has happened now, because so many other people have benefited from diversity, equity, inclusion, which Black people spearheaded, they've got a new Trotter House now, okay, right on State Street. Beautiful building. But I'm gonna tell you what, when you go in there, those of you alums or whatever, people, you go up in there, you'll think you're walking into the United Nations. Black people are just one group of people on the wall, okay? Any and everybody is included in that cultural center. So I think it was Dr. King that said, you know, we can diversify ourselves out of existence, okay? And so what I'm saying is, there's never going to be a time in this country where the effect of being a minority country will mean anything, because you've got more and more, and by the way, Hispanics are the largest minority in the country, not Blacks. I'm sure y'all know that, okay? Where more and more they are associating with a white culture. And the same thing with a lot of Asians, because the acceptance is okay, even the marginal discrimination is okay, as long as they're above somebody, you see? And we Black folks have something we can't escape. It's the color of our skin. We can't escape that. And so what I'm saying to you is that when you have 43% of Latino males consider themselves white, when you got like 53% of Latino males voting for Donald Trump and about 35% of Latinas voting for Donald Trump, that tells y'all a whole lot, y'all. That tells you a whole lot. And so what I'm saying is, when we have those folks that are really, really ready, willing, and able to run toward white supremacy in the hopes that they will somehow be included, you see, they got a rude awakening, because when that man takes control the 21st of January, his people have already said, we coming for y'all. Don't run no line to me about Abuelita and Tia, you know, and Nana and all that. Don't run that on us. We got an answer for Abuelita, Tia, and Nana on the bus with the rest. That's the answer. So what I'm saying is that the problem that we have as Black people, we have been so willing to become Americanized in proving that, you know, we're different from them, y'all. We're different from them, y'all. And it's not just us now. The Latins have gotten it too. So, you know, this thing about minority country, I don't see it coming in any of our lifetimes, because it isn't so much the color of a person's skin, it's their culture. It's their culture. And that's what we're dealing with. A white supremacist culture that is being bought into more and more by Latinos and Asians in this nation.
I want to add to that too. I think it has been bought into by us more than we're even willing to even admit. Because as Black folks, unless you assimilated, you didn't go up the ladder. If you talked like, you know how they say you talk white, right? If you couldn't speak the king's English, you couldn't go up the ladder. So for very good reason, we assimilated ourselves out of the culture. I say all the time, I understand why. You know, we talk about this all the time. The Civil Rights Act, we was like, woo, it's over. We free now, you know, and we can start getting some of the same stuff that some of our Caucasian siblings could get. Folks couldn't openly lynch us anymore without some form of accountability, even though it's still no accountability. But we got a little comfortable, and I get it, because we was being murdered, beat, lynched. But what happens is that we stop teaching generations after that. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I say this with all due respect, for whatever reason that our elders dropped the ball, it's time for them to pick it back up again, because there is knowledge that they have about our people that we would never know, because it's not being passed down to generations. And then we wonder why these kids acting out. When you don't know who you are, when you're not clear about who you are, you will act the way that you do. But I think that the people we really have to, I think somebody said excuses. I don't call them excuses. I call them dynamics. But I will say this, I don't care how we got here. We can't stay here. We have to be clear about who we are. We have to educate our community. We have to educate our youth, but we have to be honest about how and why we dropped the ball. Pick it back up, and then let's move it. And I'm not saying let's move our seniors out the way. The word of God is clear. He called the elders because they had the knowledge. He called the young because they have the strength. That's another thing. We got to stop fighting against each other. Our seniors want to hold on to God's unchanging hand and the work too, and they won't let nobody else in, some of them. And that's not the way to do it. There's a way to merge us all so that we become that body that is jointly fit, doing the work of Christ in this earth. Because some of y'all sitting around waiting for the rapture, and I'm just trying to tell you, you're going to be waiting. Because thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God is still moving in this earth, and there are still things that need to happen in this earth. So it's time for us to get busy and do it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, you know, as you speak on that, this year, it was the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights movement, Civil Rights Act. And look what's going on, you know. It's like, did we forget when we went to go vote or didn't go vote? Because they said a lot of us did not go. So all these things are reversing. And as we talk about, you know, Allie mentioned earlier, like they're all connected. Wrongly convictions and these DIs and CRT and all of this stuff is all connected. And so we have to pay attention. I got to play this one last video before we go tonight. But I think it's very important because how they're dismantling things. And so doing this dismantling, this is time for us to wake up. But here's another video, you guys.
All right, so breaking news. Y'all not gonna believe this. So the state of Georgia has just disbanded, completely eliminated its entire maternal mortality review committee. For those of y'all who aren't aware, Georgia is the most dangerous state in the United States to give birth. We have the highest maternal death rates of any state in the country. If you don't believe me, this is the March of Dimes scorecard. Georgia got a what? That's right, an F, people. As a refresher, maternal mortality review committees have a very, very important job in combating maternal deaths. Their job is to investigate all maternal deaths and all factors associated with that death so we can better understand and prevent these deaths from happening. But wait, there's more. The Maternal Mortality Review Committee was disbanded after confidential information about two Black mothers, Candy Miller and Amber Thurman, was leaked. Investigation conducted by the Georgia Department of Public Health couldn't even determine that it was members of the committee that leaked the information. Not only was the Maternal Mortality Review Committee here in Georgia disbanded, there's no plan, no timeline of when this is going to be reinstated. This is like living in the most dangerous neighborhood in the country and then just getting rid of the police and saying, we don't know when you're getting more. This is tough because these maternal mortality review committees are a direct result of the legislation that we fought so hard to pass, the Preventing Maternal Deaths Act, which makes maternal mortality review committees mandatory in all 50 states.
So,
yeah. and J Love, that in conjunction with the aspects of Project 2025 in terms of monitoring a woman's cycle, in terms of criminalizing, keeping a database on women who leave one state to go to another to get health care. You see, all that is genocidal. Okay, all that is genocidal. All that impacts Black people more than just about, I don't know, maybe Native Americans are more, but just about, I'd say anybody else in the nation. And let me just use my few minutes that you give us to close, J Love, and say this. One thing we have not talked about tonight in terms of supremacy is, okay, Trisha, just for that, the Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. Once again, my backup singers, the Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. Thank you. One thing that we have to face up with is white supremacy when it comes to our Caucasian sisters. Okay? We have to realize white supremacy is a gender neutral demon. In the state of Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin was elected. In the state of Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin was re-elected. All throughout the country, Ruben Gallego in Arizona, okay, a Democrat, beat that lunatic or Carrie Lake or whatever. She need to go back to doing the news or whatever she was doing, okay? But yet, Kamala Harris loses Arizona. Kamala Harris loses Michigan. Kamala Harris loses Wisconsin. So I guess I'm just asking the question, if everybody who voted for Alyssa Slotkin put that same zeal and energy into voting for Kamala Harris, if everybody who voted for Tammy Baldwin put that same energy in voting for Kamala Harris would have won the state of Michigan, the state of Wisconsin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In Florida, they have 10 states, as you all know, where a woman's reproductive autonomy was on the ballot, okay? 7 of those 10 states, it passed. The only reason it did not pass in Florida is because they've got this ridiculous law in Florida that says for an initiative like that to pass, you need 60% of the vote. That vote got 57% of the votes in the state of Florida, fell 3% short, okay? Where was the support for Kamala Harris to that extent in the state of Florida? A champion of women's rights to autonomy, and so reproductive autonomy. So we've got to realize that there are our Caucasian sisters. And by the way, most white women have never voted for Barack Obama. Both times he ran, most white men did not vote for Barack Obama. It's just a whole bunch of Black, brown, and Asians voted for Barack Obama. That's what happened. So, and what I'm saying is the reality of it is, and we just got to face it, my Black sisters, everybody that's going the same bathroom you going to ain't down with you.
Come on.
Okay, they are not down with you. Now they'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you on a woman's right to reproductive autonomy. They will gladly do that. But when it come down to a leader, a Black woman leader, ain't gonna happen, y'all. It's been proven time and time and time again. Ain't gonna happen.
Thank you, Attorney Matt. So Tonight was a lot. But as the title say, freedom ain't free. So we have to do our due diligence now. We have to organize. We have to educate ourselves. And we have to educate our children, our family members. We have to remember who we are. Every day they remind you if you're paying attention. I wanted to bring this up because I spoke with Crystal tonight and what's going on and the women, Michigan Department of Corrections, women Huron Valley prison is horrific. There's no heat on, there's no hot water. Crystal is so sick, she just want to go to the hospital. And she said the warden has made a note to everyone to refuse her going anywhere when other people can. So she was telling me so much tonight, and it was so horrific. I said, Crystal, I'm going to have you come on, and you can tell it in your own words. So Sunday at 5 p.m., we're going to have a conversation with Crystal on this platform that you're watching right now. Please join us. She's going to call in from Huron Valley, and she's going to let you know what's going on. Now, and they're with no heat, they're cold. So this is going to be a very enlightening conversation, and it needs to get out. And so please be with us on Sunday for this, probably about an hour or 45 minutes. Just have this conversation with Crystal.
What time is that, J-Love?
5.
Okay. And you'll be sending out the links again, J-Love?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. You know we count on you, J-Love. Stop playing.
So you guys, please join us on Sunday for this special edition of Turning the Moment into a Movement, where we're going to have a conversation with Crystal. Is going to do all the majority of the talking. So tonight, thank you, Lamarr, for hanging on with us. And, again, for those who want to connect with you, how do they do that, Lamarr?
They can go to freedomainfree.us and leave a message, or they could reach me at Royal Rain 778 at gmail.com.
Okay, and I'll put that in the chat later on tonight. And again, the Freedom Ain't Free.us. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate, the conversation and the information. Fishay, what do you like to leave us with?
Apple. You be broke one of them.
I want to leave us with this. We need to get busy. We need to do it together. We need to know where we've been so we can know where we're going.
I don't know.
That's pretty much it. We got to get busy.
Yeah. Allie?
So I want to end by saying there are other ways to do things. We don't have to accept society and the world the way it is. Just because something's been here this long, or whatever it may have been, whatever it is, within our world that has been here since the beginning of time, or just a couple years, whatever. That doesn't mean it is the only way of doing things. For example, if we look at all this talk about gun violence, and specifically school shootings, the conversation is always on, there's school shootings, but in reality, that is an anomaly. And those majorly impacted by it are predominantly Black schools, and that's often overlooked. But what they don't tell you is that there are holistic approaches you can take to address the issue. And there's cities that have seen a 40% drop in gun violence rates because they're taking a holistic approach instead of the traditional carceral approach. So do your research. Don't believe everything the media says. Dig deeper.
Yeah. Lamarr, did you have any last words that you wanted to leave us with?
Just that these conversations are important and constructive. Help us strategize other means of attacking issues and expanding our ability to meet some needs. So I'll just say we active. Let's stay active. Inform people. It's really about educating our people a lot more than what we think, because once the people are more educated, and it won't take as much effort to get things done.
Yeah.
And I'll leave with that.
Yeah. All right, Bishop. I let Reverend Tia close us out.
Great. I just want to share that the young man that talked about maternal mortality, I've been in a 2-year research project on maternal mortality, bringing it to the forefront of the abuse and teaching women to be advocates for themselves, and also bringing that it's not just the patient, it's the receptionist, it's the doctor, it's all that we have a responsibility to work for the betterment of those women, because that should be the happiest time in their life, and many Black women don't receive that love, care, and affection.
Yeah.
I understand.
Thank you, Bishop.
Amen.
That is important. Okay, Reverend Tia.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Jay. Thank you, everyone. And I was looking at what Armithia had said, and that is the power is with the people who have economic power. And I want us to remember that we should not count ourselves out when it comes to our economic power. And I want us to also remember that we have days coming up that I would like, and I'm praying and believing for people to consciously be aware of where they are allocating their money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because this is a capitalistic country, and the corporations, it's a corporation itself, and the corporations are running it. When the corporations feel that there's a dent in their pockets, then change happens. The revolution is a silent one. It starts within. It goes without, and yes, there's noise that's made, but the true revelation is the change that we make within ourselves to consciously make a difference in our communities. Where are you spending your money, and what are you doing it for? And remember that Black Friday started with your Black behind of your ancestors who were on the chopping block, who were on the slave block. That was Black Friday. It was slavery at a discount. Remember that and make a new decision. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome. Well, you guys, I will say see you next week, but I guess I'll see you on Sunday. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.